Right after this, Neema and Brian from Marks will be introducing their How to Recycle labeling program.
All right. Hello. Should we start sharing our screen?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Awesome. Awesome. Let me just make sure I get this. 1 second. Right. You guys see that? Is this showing up for you guys?
Yes, it's showing up. Thank you.
Right, perfect. Well, hello everybody. Happy Friday. My name is Neema Pourian. I'm the Director of Engineering at Marks, and I'm joined with Brian.
Hi everyone, I'm Brian Arendt, and I'm the Senior Engineer on the Marks Engineering team.
Fantastic. And today we're going to talk to you about the How to Recycle program and just our experience with it, and just how we find it very beneficial in terms of helping consumers, helping brands be more sustainable. So just looking at today, just a brief overview of our agency, what we kind of do, the way that we look at sustainability, and then our involvement in the How to Recycle program as well. So in terms of us and our agency, we're really a brand design and experience agency. So we look, and everything we do is in the filter of brands. And the way that we're built, you'll see in a second, is just we're really unique in the sense that we have a lot of different disciplines coming together. One of which is engineering that Brian and I are a part of, but we do have a very vast graphic design capability, whether that's brand building or adaptive design. That's something that we do a lot of, and really in this age of constant change. So, I think 2020, perfect example of that. No one really expected it, and we're just keeping up with the ever-changing things that brands and companies face. So just a little bit about our footprint and presence in North America. Brian and I are located in Chicago. That's one of our centers of excellence when it comes to structural packaging design. We do a lot of CGI out of that office as well. But we also have a really big presence in Toronto. That's another one of our centers of excellence as well. So as you start to look at our agency broadly, we have a lot of different disciplines, as you can kind of see on this chart or the slide, right? So adaptation, that's really like graphic design adaptation, where we'll take like a brand and then roll it out to hundreds of different SKUs. With brand identity, we're helping create new brands. CGI, we do a lot of computer graphics and our animated images for that. Brian and I are involved, like I said, in the engineering team. But this vast array of different capabilities and disciplines really all come together to help build brands. And one of those that we're going to talk about today and really focus on is sustainability. So a really broad term. It's been a great conference. I know people have talked about it in a lot of different ways. It has a lot of different meanings. And really our take on it is really, again, going back to brands. And we really feel they're in this unique position to kind of align what they're doing as a business and with society as a whole, and just really thinking about it in a very positive framework, right? Something that's promising for us all, that brands can come together, they can really think about the impact that they have in terms of consumers and the planet and their community. So typically brands will come to us, or clients will come to us with just this like singular sustainability idea, right? Like, help me have more recyclable packaging, or let me take some weight out of it. And in general, we always take a very broad approach when it comes to sustainability, looking at a lot of different activities a company could do, right? So what we call multifaceted actions, right? Whether that's either looking at it from a product experience standpoint, thinking about things like closed loop packaging that you saw from Loop, and also just that experience and the communication that brands can put on pack and how they're kind of communicating out to consumers what their brand is doing from a sustainability standpoint. So when we look at brands and the sustainability, there's a lot of different factors in play. It was really cool that Hemlock was talking about the SDGs, right? That's one of the things that we look at as well with the UN. But really we find like it's this balancing act, right? Between all the things that are going on with regulatory and laws and mandates, because we know that legislative standards across countries and regions, municipalities, they all differ. So kind of these are all pushing and pulling and putting pressure on brands to deliver sustainability. And so what we want to focus today on and really look at is recycling. So recycling is one avenue that brands can take. And it's really about ensuring that successful recovery and processing of these packaging materials that brands put out there, particularly these single-use items, right? A lot of talk around single-use plastics. And we really think that, recycling still plays a big part of this in terms of reducing the amount of greenhouse gas emissions and overall, sustainability in general. Recycling is still a big part of that. But we know it has its issues, right? So the system is broken, it's fragmented, and we really think there's a need for a variety of solutions to help it out. So, one of the things that we've come across is that 67% of consumers assume that packaging is not recyclable if they don't see any sort of claim on pack. And so what ends up happening is a lot of recyclables, PET bottles, right, they end up in landfills. So that's one major issue we've seen. The other one is that recyclers or material recovery facilities, MRFs, they are seeing a lot of contamination that drives up their cost and makes them very inefficient. And then the third one too is just this multitude of different symbols and icons that are placed on packaging. And sometimes without even consideration whether or not the material is recyclable or not, and how it should really be disposed of at end of life. At the same time that we see that recycling has its issues, we're seeing a lot of corporate commitments around post-consumer recycled content, so PCR, right? So you're seeing these huge corporations, Walmart, Pepsi, Coke, AB InBev, P&G, all sort of in their corporate statements are having some language around, percentage of recycled content in their plastic packaging, reducing virgin plastic, petroleum-based plastic, made from a majority of recycled content. And what's really significant about this, I think, is when you look at all these companies, right, they're pumping out billions of packages a day, right, on a global scale. So this magnitude and scale of these commitments to PCR are huge. And we know that the way that current recycling rates are going today, this is not going to be enough to meet these demands and really meet these corporate objectives. And for us, we really look at it as, okay, if there's more use of PCR, then we really need a better recycling collection. So if we start off on the left-hand side and we have better collection for recycling, that's not only going to increase the amount of PCR that's available and drive down the cost, but it's also going to improve the quality that you see coming into the PCR. So we're going to get more of it, and it's going to be higher quality, and therefore is going to feed into that loop for increased use of PCR. And if we start to look at this recycling life cycle, right, it's really that loop. So after the product consumption, the recycling has to be collected and then fed back into reprocessing with that post-consumer recycled content. But we know this is a complex cycle. It's very simple here on the slide, but there's some vulnerabilities here and errors can occur. And the place that we really see that is after the product consumption and before recycling, right? There seems to be this misinformation or some confusion. And this is how we feel that on-pack communication can really play a role and really empower consumers to be more active participants in this cycle. And so one of the aspects that we've seen How to Recycle come in is with this on-pack communication, right? And this is what we're really going to talk about today, this How to Recycle program. All right, so what is it? How to Recycle is a standardized labeling system that's used in the US and Canada, and it's governed by the Sustainable Packaging Coalition. And really what it does is it communicates recycling instructions, right? And that reduces confusion around what to do with a particular piece of packaging, and it enables consumers to be these educated participants in that cycle. And more importantly, I think too, it really shows like what should not go in the recycling stream and what shouldn't be recycled. We know that other kind of systems exist across the globe, right? So we've picked out two here that we've seen, one in Australia and New Zealand, and another one that's used in the UK called on-pack recycling labels. So this kind of idea of giving consumers instructions about recycling is gaining traction globally as well. So just a little bit about the label breakdown, again, they really drive for consistency and clear communication. So up top, you have your instructions, right? Any special instructions with that pack. Like this one says rinse before recycling. They have their website so you can find out more information. They have that recyclability category. So either widely recycled or maybe check locally or do not recycle. And then also kind of going into details around the packaging material and what the components are. It's a broad range of brands, retailers, and suppliers that, I think there are over 275 brands and retailers now, but many of the companies that, you probably are familiar with and buy their products from today. And this just continues to grow. So on this list is not only people that are part of this H2R program, but our clients as well. And that's kind of how we dovetail together with the H2R program and SPC is really helping these clients implement the H2R unpack and doing it in a very efficient way. The other kind of really important thing that I think that they do is with every label that they assign, they give this custom recyclability assessment for each package, right? So knowing the complexity of this, right, there's laws that they look at both from the US FTC and in Canada, right, around what can and can't be said on pack. Also just looking at, the thousands of municipalities and different recycling infrastructures that we have, like what's widely recyclable and collected, right? And that'll really drive whether or not that gets the chasing arrows that says it's recyclable. Then also looking at those material recovery facilities, right? So if packaging is too small and it doesn't go through the MRF, right, they'll identify that. And then maybe most importantly is looking at those end markets. So there's got to be somebody at the end of the line that wants to purchase these. And so they'll kind of take all this complexity, simplify it, and bring that down to a simple kind of a logo and a label that they do custom for each sort of package. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Brian, and he'll talk a little bit about the benefits of this program.
Yeah, and so as we look at how to recycle, we've really identified 6 key benefits that a partner company with how to recycle would experience from participating in the program. And those are educating the consumer, shift in behavior, improve the recycling stream, immediate impact, build brand trust, and inform roadmap. And I'll dive into each of these in a little bit more detail now. So for educating the consumer, in the marketplace, we've seen more and more items labeled with very generic recycling instruction, like please recycle that you see here. However, this can be pretty misleading when used with materials that are not recyclable. And in these instances, labeling like this can do more harm than good. One of the examples we also see here is the use of chasing arrows to signify recyclability. The use of tracing arrows used to be combined with the resin code, and it was originally meant for rigid packaging and the identification of the material, not to actually signify recyclability. Now it's being used more across different pack formats, whether or not the material is actually recyclable and collected locally. But by utilizing on-pack communication like how to recycle, confusion can be avoided while educating the consumer on how to correctly recycle. The next one here, shift in behavior. We know that nobody likes change. Changing consumer behavior can be really difficult. However, by using consistent and informative language on pack, consumers can learn and make better choices when it comes to recycling. With the use of how to recycling labeling, it has been seen that about 70% of consumers report a change in their recycling behavior. And what this really means is that consumers are recycling more and they're recycling better. Changing behavior like this may seem like a small change in the grand scheme of things, but when it comes to recycling, any shift in behavior is good, no matter the magnitude. The next one here, improving the recycling stream. Today, recycling collection facilities battle with contamination and dirty inputs, which causes huge problems during reprocessing. In the industry, one of the problems we encounter with consumers is when they wish cycle. you haven't heard of wish cycling, it's a term that's described when consumers hope that something is recyclable, but it actually isn't. It may seem like the right thing to do to put it in the recycling bin, but it actually does more harm than good. By improving the quality of the recycling stream, efficiencies are gained at the material recovery facility when sorting, which impacts the quality and the cost of recycled materials for end markets. The next one here, immediate impact. And when I say immediate impact, I'm referring to the immediate impact of delivering against corporate sustainability goals. Companies are placing more importance upon environmental and sustainability goals, and many of the tangible ways of improving upon these goals can take a lot of time and resources, and they can also be highly cost intensive. How to recycle is proven to be a near-in way to implement and deliver against these targets. Partner companies can add the recycle label to artwork during new artwork initiatives or artwork refreshes, and combining their efforts to eliminate the need for new plates just because of how to recycle. Because of this, the use of how to recycle can be much more cost effective in comparison, while also being highly visible to the consumer. The next one here, build brand trust. In order to be competitive in today's marketplace, brands must take a broader approach to sustainability. We know that consumers have set certain expectations for the brands that they're willing to purchase, and overall, they're paying more attention and they're reading labels in more detail. As brands communicate their values to the consumer, they must now demonstrate transparency and create products and experiences that are better for people and the planet. The use of the How to Recycle label can be an easy way for brands to show their sustainability efforts, drive purchase intent, and build trust with consumers at the same time. So looking at the statistics shown here, this is done in a survey by How to Recycle. Consumers are seeing the How to Recycle labeling positively, further impacting their purchase decisions and their affinity for a participating brand. And the last one here, informing the roadmap. Just like we saw in corporate commitments mentioned earlier, companies have been and are still working on their strategy for sustainable packaging. You might think that How to Recycle is just a label that you see on pack, but the program provides much more than that. Every time a label request is submitted for an item, the How to Recycle team reviews that item, and then they provide a list of recommendations for how to improve recyclability. With this advice, member companies can utilize recommendations to inform ways to improve upon their current and future packaging portfolio. So when looking at all these benefits, just to recap, we're really seeing that the use of the How to Recycle program can help the consumer by educating and shifting behavior towards better recycling habits, improving the recycle stream holistically. It provides an immediate impact for companies towards their environmental and sustainability goals, and it helps build brand trust with consumers while informing the future sustainability roadmap. And I'll pass it back over to Neema.
Great. Yeah, so, we've had a very, positive experience with the How to Recycle program, again, helping our clients on that list kind of implementing it, right, through some of these turnkey tools and processes that we've identified. But again, like I mentioned, that's just one way that we help clients with sustainability, right? So beyond the kind of How to Recycle program, we have our team of engineers, we have our team of industrial designers, and we look broader, right, in terms of different ways we can help achieve sustainability goals, whether that's like a comprehensive packaging assessment of your portfolio, identifying maybe where some opportunities exist beyond on-pack communication, to starting to deliver innovations for the longer term. So kind of in that upper right-hand corner, we helped Chevron convert from an HDPE bottle to this bag and box format. And so it's great because, right, we reduced plastic usage by 70%, but I think more importantly, we helped solve one of the challenges that they were having with glugging of oil when they're pouring it. So not only moving from plastic to kind of this more sustainable format, where we're able to deliver kind of less plastic, but a better usage experience. Similarly, in the bottom right, we have that Downy Lenore bottle. So with this one, again, this is a material reduction story where we took out 20% of the plastic in the bottle by starting to introduce these facets. And what we love about that is it's both functional in terms of the top load, which allows you to reduce the amount of plastic, but it really reinforces that brand story of the sensorial effects that this has, right? So especially looking at it on shelf, it just does a really nice job of drawing your eye in and reflecting their brand story, and at the same time enabling them to reduce the bottle weight. And then lastly, McCormick's and Schwartz in the UK, that's another brand where we help them lightweight their glass, and in doing so really just made it easier for consumers to pour the spices and help them design a better closure that enabled them to use this in a new way. So again, many different ways we can help clients with sustainability. We shared our experience with how to recycle and the importance of on-pack communication for recycling and PCR, but we'd love to help other companies too in the different facets for sustainability. So with that, we thank you and open it up to any questions you may have.
Thank you so much, Neema and Brian. That was an amazing presentation. So yeah, we do have a few questions that are coming in from the attendees, so I can just read them out to you.
Sure.
So the first one that we have, can anyone use How to Recycle on their packaging? Is there an approval process or licensing fees?
Yeah, so, and again, we don't get paid by How to Recycle. I just want to mention that, right? We're just partners of theirs, especially because we have a lot of clients that share similar interests. And so, yeah, you have to become a member. And honestly, it's very cost effective, I would say that, without getting to the specific numbers. We've seen, especially large corporations doing that. And I know their whole goal is to get this recycling label on as many packages as possible. So they definitely work with organizations of different, levels and cost structures.
So the next one that we have is, what do you think about the potential for global adaptation of this program?
Yeah, it'd be great. As we saw, we're starting to see it in the UK. We're seeing it in Australia. I think it's a fantastic idea, right? Especially one of the main tenets of How to Recycle is consistency, right? So having them do that and looking at those laws, I think it's a wonderful idea. I think some of the challenges, right, with other things on pack is translations, local languages, the use of iconography with text. There definitely have to be some challenges that to be overcome, but certainly would love to see this around the world, especially for global brands, like we see the Cokes, the Pepsis, the McDonald's of the world. They're global brands. They should implement this around the world, not just in North America.
Absolutely agree with you. Last one that we have so far is, what positive effects have you seen in consumers from the How to Recycle program?
Yeah, I mean, like Brian said, it's just like that shift in behavior, right? I think the biggest one is we're seeing a lot more people just paying attention to packaging and reading the details, right? Doing some investigation and research on brands, and does it align with their values, right? So I think the most positive thing that we've seen is that shift in behavior. So like Brian said, they're recycling more, and I think they're recycling better, right? They're thinking about, should this go in curbside recycling? Should this be a store drop off? Or you know what, maybe I shouldn't even put this in the recycling bin because it's going to be detrimental. So we really have seen a positive impact, and this program is relatively new, right? So as more companies get on board, as more people see it on packaging, we hope that that's just going to translate into a better recycling experience for everybody.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Neema and Brian. Amazing presentation.
Yeah.